What's the worst cheating story you've ever heard? Firefighter asked another firefighter to cover his shift by working for him. He then went and had sex with his wife that day. My bio mom's best friend was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. We moved her husband and her daughter in. My mom slept with her husband and got pregnant, so they put her in a nursing home to die all alone just so they wouldn't have to deal with the consequences. She was hours away as well, so her daughter, who was 10 at the time, was unable to visit her. She died alone because she went to her best friend for help. I don't speak to bio mom anymore. After her friend's death, she showed off her brand new car with the life insurance money. She married her husband. At the time, her dead best friend also had a 19-year-old daughter who was homeless with a toddler. I felt so fucking sick sitting in the car listening to her brag about how nice it was and how she finally got the car she deserved. Some people are disgusting. Edit to add more backstop that just makes this story absolutely vile. My bio mom is a counselor, and the way she even met this best friend of hers was through the daughter, who was 19 with a toddler. They met when said daughter was 13. My bio mom was her caseworker for mental health support. She crossed a huge professional boundary doing this. On top of that, she came into this girl's life to help her and ended up hurting her so fucking badly. Her mom, who passed, wasn't the only victim here. My bio mom was also married, there's other children involved, etc. So many people were hurt by this, it's truly sickening. TBH, during my bio mom's pregnancy, her mom actually also got stage 4 lung cancer. She died within 7 weeks and never met bio mom's baby. I kinda feel like it was her fault in a sense. I truly believe karma can and will get you through loved ones. One of my wife's cousins died of cancer after a 30-year marriage. When her husband was clearing out her home office, he found a box with diaries, receipts, letters, hotel keys, etc. detailing the hundreds of times she cheated on him with random guys throughout their whole marriage, going so far as to take their daughters to meetups and gaslighting them about what was happening. After my husband died, I was looking through his belongings to find things that our daughters might like to have in the future, and I found hard proof that he had been cheating on me for years with someone I considered a good friend. It broke me. My friend had a massive heart attack, and having sex was hard for him for a while. He worked and his wife didn't. He fell asleep in the chair one morning while getting ready for work. He awoke to a man unlocking his door. For about a year while he was at work, his wife had different men with keys to the house coming over to have sex with her. Couple was together for 8 years, both working at sea on the same ship for 8 to 11-week trips, bought the house and heading towards marriage, kids, etc. etc. Start a 11-week trip and noticed something wasn't right. Girl had fucked another crew member on the trip off and wanted to be with them. Guy had to watch the start of the new relationship while on a floating prison, and due to his qualifications couldn't leave the ship. Source: me. I am that guy. Honestly, I've been blown away by the support. Thank you, I appreciate you all. I will try give you some more details. This happened about 12 years ago. It was 4 years before I dated again, but honestly I still struggle to bring my walls down and really let anyone in. I had to stay on board as the company needed my engineering qualification to operate legally. They had no one to cover for me. They really did try to. I'll finish with a good note. While sitting on the stern for hours, it was followed by something glorious that got me through. Maybe it was my guardian angel, maybe divine intervention, call it whatever you want, but it was amazing. I had finished my inspection rounds, which was usually around 2 a.m., sitting there wanting to jump as I felt like my whole life had already ended. I was just there for the ride. I must have entered a trance-like state, as the next thing I looked up from the rushing water to see the sun just starting to peek over the horizon, showing one of the best sunrises I had ever seen. Dolphins were hanging around below me, seabirds were cruising, and I don't know exactly what it was, but the whole combination just made me feel like nature was there for me. But she also didn't want me to join her. So I guess my take from all this is that if you're ever in a position this low, and you think self-dead is the only way out, find the one thing that you love and hold on to it tightly. Life will always get better, trust me, it will get better. Mother Nature, I love you. He looked across the sea and knew how alone he was now. But he could see the prisms in the deep dark water and the lines stretching ahead and the strange undulation of the calm. The clouds were building up now for the trade wind, and he looked ahead and saw a flight of wild ducks etching themselves against the sky over the water, then blurring, then etching again, and he knew no man was ever alone on the sea. Ernest Hemingway, Old Man and the Sea. I'm starting to think he was talking about you. Less than 3. Former colleague of mine in his mid-30s. Was living with his long-term girlfriend and they had been shopping for engagement rings. He comes to work one day and early afternoon receives a text from her telling him she's seeing someone else, has packed up the house and moved out to live with the other guy. No apology, no further explanation. She then immediately blocked him and left him to deal with the rent and other bills on his own. He was a nice guy, it was horrendous to see that happen to him. He's now happily married. To someone else, of course. Same thing happened to my best friend, but he and the girl were married. He didn't get a text though. Just came home from work and all her shit was gone. Ended up having to go to her work and one of her colleagues came out in the parking lot to tell him it was over. What's crazy is the girl evidently didn't tell hardly anyone about it. Her dad even came by my friend's house 3 months later asking to see his daughter, and my buddy is like, you don't know what happened, do you? But just like your story, the guy is happily remarried and in a much better situation now. I was an IT contractor for the Department of Defense, NMCI for those curious. We got a keyword alert on an email conversation. Then more. Same folks involved. So we went and checked out the email and the email thread. Turns out it was a senior chief, who was talking to nearly a half dozen women under his chain of command that he was having affairs with, multiples of which were pregnant with his children. He, of course, was married, having 4 kids with his wife. What started out with a "hey, you're not supposed to discuss that" on regular email investigation turned into a massive scandal, wrecking multiple marriages and turned into a whole lot of meetings with his very angry CO. Don't do stupid shit on company email. And really don't do stupid shit on DoD servers. My friend was partying with her boyfriend and some other people. Her boyfriend fucked another girl on the same couch as her, while she was passed out. She woke up part of the way through it and just didn't know what to do. When I was 18 a long time ago, I was seeing this guy and one night he wanted to go driving around to hang out. He brought along one friend, I brought along one too. We were out all night and he dropped off his friend at home but wanted to keep hanging out with us. We parked up somewhere and I was so tired so I tried to fall asleep in the back seat. After a while both he and my friend thought I really was asleep, and although they didn't hook up, they got super flirty and my friend did try but he turned her down. I was young and felt awkward and didn't want them to think I was faking being asleep to spy on them, so I just laid there for a while trying not to cry until I pretended to wake up and act as if nothing happened. I ran into my ex-wife's mother at a bar with some guy like 10 years after we separated. Said hi and disappeared quickly. 6 months later she is in the local paper. Apparently the guy she was with was her paralyzed husband's brother that she was fucking. She hung herself in jail after being arrested for trying to hire a hitman, cop, to kill her husband. I was so relieved to have gotten away from that craziness and surprised my ex didn't as her to make it a 2-for-1 special with me thrown in to boot. My mom told me this story about one of my dad's old colleagues. She was an acquaintance of the wife. They'd been married for years, older couple. He cheated on her with an 18-year-old. In a fit of rage she bought a new car, new clothes, and threw a few enormous parties. When the anger passed she became severely depressed and hung herself. He found her in the entrance of their house. They had kids too, but I think they were in their early 20s by then. Couple sitting across from me at a bar in Key West. She was his best friend's former wife. They started hooking up and best friend found out the affair. Came home after church once and blew his head off. Once the dust was settled she married her dead husband's best friend who she had been fucking, causing the suicide. They were both insanely happy and even partially laughed when telling me the story. Alcohol makes people just spill everything. I worked in a factory. We will call them Ben and Sarah. Ben was the supervisor of maintenance and Sarah worked setup, sort of a maintenance person specialized for that specific production line. Ben's wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer. When this happened, Ben started cheating on his wife with Sarah. He had quite a bit of money and promised Sarah that after his wife passed, they'd move away to a beautiful cabin in British Columbia in the mountains. I caught them boning in the maintenance office one midnight shift. I didn't report it because I was a dumb 21-year-old. Long story short, Ben promised Sarah the world after his wife passed. Bailp. His wife ended up beating this terminal diagnosis and he broke it off with Sarah. This literally drove Sarah insane and she was forced to check into a mental hospital. I never saw her again after that. When I was a police officer, a coworker found his wife in bed with another police officer from the same district. Wife would tell the lover about husband's week schedule and lover would have his changed in order to have sex with the wife while husband was working. Problem was one day husband got dismissed 3 hours early and went back home without texting his wife first. He had some suspects but could never imagine about another police officer. No shots were fired that day, luckily. Not me but my best friend. He was madly in love with a woman and wanted to marry her. They lived together and were very happy. As a birthday gift, she bought him a plane ticket so he could fly out to see me. While he was with me, he would talk to her every so often. Every time he got off the phone with her, he would tell me something just wasn't right. His spidey sense was tingling. He came home to find evidence that she had someone over at their place. She initially denied it but eventually she admitted to having a male coworker in the house. Her buying the ticket was just a way for her to have the place to herself for a 3-day sex romp. My buddy was devastated and heartbroken. It took him years to recover. Edit, this was many years ago. My buddy is doing just fine and is in a happy, healthy relationship. The woman in the story. Not so much. She bottomed out in life. Drugs and alcohol eventually took over. Last I heard, she was quasi-homeless and had to shack up with a much older, controlling man just so she could have a place to sleep. Everyone got what they deserved in the end. I know someone who regularly cheated on their out-of-town girlfriend. I guess he was going to cut all that out when she finished her advanced degree program out of state. She moved to his state and they got an apartment together. While in the shower, his phone is buzzing with messages. She finds the girl's username sending all these messages and decides to send her a direct message from her own account, and the other girl was completely honest with her. I know who you are, I hook up with your BF all the time, including last weekend at your new apartment in your bed. Etc. etc. Not so much cheating, but this guy I personally knew when I was running around in the streets had a harem of about 5 women, all older, all with their own homes, either cheating on their husbands with him or divorced. That's not the worst part though. He admitted to me that he would purposely seek out oldish lonely women, get them hooked on meth, like he was, specifically so he'd have these women rely on him for their drugs and he'd have a bed to fall into every night / could ask them for money whenever he needed it. He was willfully and knowingly getting these middle / upper class women, with no real experience with drugs or the street life, addicted to meth little by little so he could use them for his personal gain. That was his hustle. That was his job. It's literally what he devoted his life to doing. When he first told me, it blew my mind that I was talking to a bona fide psychopath. I'd like to say that I cut all contact with him after that, but at the time, he was my dealer, so I didn't. Dude would tell me stories of how he had these chicks wrapped around his finger, how he just got $500 from this one chick because he fed her some story about his rent, and tomorrow he was getting $400 from the next one because he fed her the same story, and the night after that he had to go sleep with number 3 because her husband wouldn't be there. He juggled them like it was a business, because to him, it was crazy as hell.